Shalom, Akim. Once again, this is Karatas coming with another video once again, man. So this video, it's a rebuttal to Yashawamba's video, and somewhat to this dude, Ahara One in Jacksonville. So the brothers in Texas and a brother in Jacksonville. It's a rebuttal to those videos. Like I said, it took a very long time to go through those videos and just to pick the points to rebuttal. It took a while. It took a minute, man. And just to order it out, the sit downs and all of that stuff like that, because they're saying so many things that's contradictory in the video. When you watch Yashawamba's video from GMS Dallas sit downs, I think it is, he constantly says one thing and then contradicts himself later in the video. It's just a very contradicting video, and it was so much. I had to delete a lot of the stuff that I had written out because the video would just be too long. It's just too many. It's too much to correct, man. So but first thing we'll say, call Allah Bashim Shah, all praise to the Most High. But I want to go ahead and I want to start at this point right here, because the brother said that you got to be careful with what you say, because brothers will run with it. Younger brothers will run with it. And that is true. That is true. And that's why we're very careful about what we say and how we say it. We only want to speak the truth as close as we can to the scriptures. All right. But when you start to deviate from the scriptures into your own customs, then things like this happen where you start to contradict each other, like was shown in the last video. All right, so let's go on and get to this video.
Have considered a full beard to be absolutely essential for all males be able to grow one. All right, now a beard is essential for males to grow. All right, all males should have a beard. All right, if you can grow one. Now, some of us brothers on this side, can't grow a full beard. All right, some brothers can't even grow a beard, and believe it or not, that's a curse too within itself, man. All Israelite men want a glorious beard, man. An Aaron's beard, a big, thick, bushy beard.
So this brother just said if you can't grow a beard, that's a curse. All right, this is what this doctrine of teaching that it's against the law. It's against the law to cut your beard, or to line it up, or or to even have a 5 o'clock shadow. That's what this promotes, man. That's what these brothers. This brother just said it's against this brother just said that it's a curse if you can't grow a beard. Now that would shatter a brother's faith in himself. They also associate a beard with righteousness, which is another thing, that a brother may feel that he's not righteous because the Most High didn't give him a beard. That's off, man. Well, let's keep listening.
All right. It says, and mandate as part of the official dogma. Other cultures, all right, they mandate it, all right? Just like the scriptures mandate all men in Israel to have a beard. Other cultures.
Now listen, it says in other cultures that a big beard was mandated. Okay? I want you to remember this point as we're going through this sit down. All right?
Even while not officially mandating it, view a beard as essential to a man's virility. Excuse me, I stumbled on that word. Exemplifying such virtues as wisdom, strength, sexual prowess, and high social status. All right, wisdom, strength, sexual prowess, and high social status. All right, wisdom, yeah, you do. Wisdom. A man with a beard compared to a man without a beard. Let's go to the picture, man, so you can see what I'm saying. Who looks like they have more wisdom? James Harden with a beard in his face look like he's more serious. He has a lot on his mind, all right, and he's more wise. Like you can learn something from him. And James Harden in the left look like a fool, man. He look like he's all about childish games and simplicity, And that.
Yeah, the Most High don't judge on the outward appearance. You see, this all vain. That's why the Most High don't care if you got a beard or not, man. It's not mandated in the law to have a beard because that's vain. It has nothing to do with the covenant. But this guy's saying that James Harden looks more like he has more wisdom because he has a beard on his face. Who cares how he look? Does he or does he not have wisdom? That's the question. Let's keep going.
And that's what a beard can do for you, man. You know, it changes your whole demeanor. All right, your whole aura changes. Okay. So it says wisdom.
All right, so that's it on that. Let's see. There was some crazy comments in here too. This brother says, in the conscious, Hebrew says, and they wondering why he going off for 30, 40, and 50 points. Correct his eyes, cut off this. Yeah, so he goes on to say as well that, I'm not even going to say because I don't want to quote him wrong, but you see what he's saying. See, Yashawamba said that you got to be careful what you're saying because brothers can run off and they'll run with it. And this is what happens. The man said, let's go back a little bit. What was it? 1342.
As wisdom, strength, sexual prowess, and high social status. All right, wisdom, strength, sexual prowess, and high social status. All right, wisdom, yeah, you do. You know, wisdom. A man with a beard compared to a man without a beard. Let's go to the picture, man, so you can see what I'm saying. Who looks like they have more wisdom? James Harden.
Okay, let's go back 13.
From our forefathers, which is their forefather Abraham, right? It says, have considered a full beard to be absolutely essential for all males be able to grow one. All right, now a beard is essential for males to grow. All right, all males should have a beard. All right, if you can grow one. Now, some of us brothers on this side, you know, can't grow a full beard. All right, some brothers can't even grow a beard, and believe it or not, that's a curse too within itself, man.
So where's that at in the scriptures? All right, that's not in the scriptures. And with this whole thing of you can't shave your beard, and now they're going with it's a curse if you can't grow a beard. So I mean, all the brothers out there that can't grow a full beard, a full glorious beard, are cursed. That's crazy, man. And there's brothers out there that shatters their confidence in themselves, and that shatters that they think that they did something wrong because they don't have a full beard. And that's crazy. That's off. That's not even in the scriptures. So let's get to it, to the rebuttal. I just want to get to that first. All right, so they're saying, just an overview of what everybody's saying is, but shaving is a heathen custom and we shouldn't be keeping heathen customs, right? The bad thing about this argument is, one, it's based off opinion and not the law. Nothing should be prohibited because it is a custom or something the heathen did, but rather because it's against our law and the covenant. The main concern of the law is with customs of idolatry that is abominable to Yahweh. Okay? It's all about what the Most High wants and doesn't want. Number two, to argue not doing something due to separation or distinction of Yashar Allah or Israel off opinion and not law is wrong. It can make you can make a suggestion based off of customs and traditions, but you cannot condemn a brother as though your opinion is the law. That's adding to the law, and there is only one lawgiver, which is Yahweh. Now, the prohibition of certain customs in the law, right? Leviticus 20 and 23. And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nations, all right, which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhor them, right? Because most brothers will say, well, you're not supposed to do what the heathens do because it say you're not supposed to walk in their manners. But whenever the law tells you, or the Most High tells you not to walk in their customs or their manners or their ways, he tells you what way he's talking about, right? So that's Leviticus 20 and 23. When you go to verse 2, it says that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. So that's one of the manners that they were doing. Verse 6 says, the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits and after wizards. That's another custom that they kept that the Most High didn't want. He's specifically naming the things that he doesn't want you to do. Verse 13, if a man also lie with mankind. Verse 15, if a man lie with a beast. See, this whole chapter mainly deals with adultery, bestiality, who you can and can't marry, familiar spirits, etc. There's nothing in this chapter about beards, shaving, or lining up. This is all about manners that the Most High did not like and he did not want us to do. But they were specified in the chapters, okay? That's why it says line upon line and precept upon precept, line upon line, okay? Leviticus 18 and 30. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs, see, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your God. It's the same as Leviticus 20 and 33. 23, what I just read. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 3. Read more about customs. For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. Now it says custom. What customs is it talking about? It's going to tell you. Verse 8, but they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanities. Verse 11, thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. Verse 14, every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by graven images, for his molten image is falsehood, and there's no breath in them. It's talking about idolatry. This is the custom that the Most High don't want us keeping. All right. It's always specifically laid out when he speaks about customs. All right. We cannot add our opinions to what we like, what customs we can and can't do just because we want to distinguish ourselves from the heathens. All right. What distinguishes us, it tells you in Deuteronomy, is our laws. Okay. And in our power, our God. Leviticus 18 and 3. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And this is also quoted a lot. I used to quote this to tell brothers that they shouldn't have dreads, which was totally off. And I'm ashamed that I even did that. But that's what we were taught to do. That's off, right? Why? Because it's going to tell you what doings of the land of Egypt he doesn't want you to do, right? Leviticus 18 and 3. After the doings of the land of Egypt. What doings? Verse 30 says, therefore shall ye keep mine ordinances, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs. He's telling you what the abominable customs are, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I'm the Lord your God. Why does he keep saying I'm the Lord your God? Because he wants you to understand that he is your God and no other God is your God. Therefore, you do not practice the abominable customs that he doesn't want you to do of these other gods. Simple. Verse 6 of Leviticus 18 and 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him. Verse 20. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife. Verse 21, thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Verse 22, thou shalt not lie with mankind. Verse 23, neither shalt thou lie with any beast. Verse 26, ye shall keep Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations. He lays out the abominations for you. All right. Nowhere in there is it talking about shaving or lining up. Okay. He specifically tells you what he does not want you to do. All right. The customs ordinances that are prohibited are clearly mentioned in the law. It is clearly defined what customs we are not to do. It is wrong to take the word custom from the scriptures and use it to say all heathen customs are prohibited, such as shaving, lining up, long hair, dreads, in certain fashions. All right. That's wrong to do that. And that's what these brothers are doing. Now let's deal with customs versus laws. All right.
To ultimately understand that way and that vibration is not of, all right, the nation of Israel, man. Okay, and there's particular customs and things that we just do, and keeping a beard on your face is one of them. All right, and we'll get into it. Okay, we'll get into it because, like I said, the balance of it is that you did have particular situations where men, all right, were commanded by the Lord, all right, to shave, all right, and for cleansing purposes or mourning purposes, shave. I want the people to see them in that state. All right, of course, you could say, well, he didn't, want people to think that they were doing it for the dead, but ultimately, the bottom line is that not having a beard on your face was looked down upon, man. That wasn't the end all be all of how we dealt. That wasn't a part of everyday custom in within our culture, man. And when you read about a lot of men with David, which we'll do that in a minute, you'll find out that they had beards. The house of David would have a beard, man. The priesthood would have a beard. Okay? Bottom line, that's the doctrine. And that's what we're going to push.
All right, so he says the bottom line, that's the doctrine. That's what we're going to push, right? Now, that's a custom. Is not a law to wear a beard. All right. The law is not to shave. The law is not to shave for the dead. You can't defend that custom with the law. What did Yahushua say about keeping customs over laws? What did he say? All right. We're going to get into that in a second. It's okay. Like, it's okay if you want to recommend brothers to grow their beards. That's okay. That's cool. But you can't tell them as if it's a sin. All right. Why? Because customs and laws are different. Okay. You cannot mix customs with laws. It's a definition for a custom, a traditional and widely accepted way of behavior or doing something that is specific to a particular society, place, or time. Okay, it's a tradition, a traditional way of doing something. What is a law? A law is the system of rules which a particular country or community recognizes as regulating the actions of its members, in which it may enforce by the imposition of penalties. All right. So traditions are just things that you keep that's widely accepted behavior to specific culture, civilization, or whatever. A law is a system of rules particular to certain peoples that regulates what they can and can't do and is enforced by actions. You see the difference? Now, what did Yahushua say about holding people to customs and traditions rather than the law? Mark 7:1-8. Well, verse 5. Then the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, why walk not thou thy disciples according to the traditions of the elders? This is the same thing. This shaving, this wearing a beard is a tradition of the elders. Okay, it's not a law. But eat bread with unwashed hands. Verse 6. He answered and said unto them, well hath Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as is written, the people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. And that's the same thing what's happening now. Here we are bringing out the truth of this subject, and they totally disregarding it and trying to add to the law by saying it's against the law to shave. Verse 7, how about in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines and commandments of men? Exactly. Because this whole thing of growing your beard, yes, it could be a good thing. All right. Yes, it was a custom of our people, but it is not a sin. If you shave or you line yourself up, it's not a sin. It's not in the law. It was just a custom that we kept. All right. You can't condemn brothers for breaking a custom. What you can condemn them for is breaking the law, not a custom. How about in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines and commandments of men? And that's what these brothers are doing. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the traditions of men. Okay? All right? Because we're telling you that it's shaving is against the law for the dead, and mainly idolatry. And you're saying that's bullshit. Well, now they changed it, but in the beginning, Tahar was saying it was bullshit. All right, and you can't shave for any cost. All right, that's holding the tradition of men rather than what the scriptures say. As the washing of pots and cups and many other such like things ye do, such as this whole thing right here, growing a beard. And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own traditions. All right. So I said it was bullshit. Oh, that is bullshit. It's not talking about for the day. It's not connecting. When you go to the Hebrew, the word why connects the whole two scriptures, two verses, making them one law. All right. Showing you you're not supposed to shave for the dead and for mainly for idols. Whereas Tahar is saying that you're not supposed to shave, period. And you got to have a beard long enough to pull in your hand. It can't be a 5 o'clock shadow, which is nowhere in the law. So there again, he rejects the commandments of God that he may keep his own tradition as though it's law. For Moses said, honor thy mother and thy father, and whoso curseth father and mother, let him die to death. But ye say, if a man shall say to his father or his mother, it is Corban, that is to say, a gift by whatsoever thou mightest be profited of me, he shall be free. And ye shall suffer him no more to do aught for his father and his mother, making the word of God of none effect through your traditions, which ye have delivered, and many such like things ye do. Right. So how does this reign true? How does this last thing reign true with them? Making the word of God of none effect through your traditions, which ye have delivered, and many such things do ye. Because if we believe in Sirach 15 and 20, if we believe it's true, that means the Most High is not telling any man to do anything that will break his law. But your custom, let me rephrase that. The Most High is not telling any man to do something and then he does not allow him to do it, giving him permission to break his law, man. But your custom of not shaving, or in your custom, your tradition of not shaving, lining up or altering your head or the beard lines makes Yahweh word look of none effect, vain and full of contradictions, and a plain lie. Why? Because he tells Ezekiel to shave, thus breaking your commandment, which you have made a law in your minds. This is adding to the law of Yahweh. Ezekiel 5 and 1. And thou, son of man, take thee a sharp knife, take thee a barber's razor, and cause it to pass upon thine head and upon thine beard. Sirach 15 and 20. He had commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin. The heathen and Yasher Allah had many customs common to each other, such as fringes, male circumcision, and the fashion of beards, which was practiced among the elite of the heathen. To say we are not to do something because the heathen did it would contradict the word and almost take everything away from Israel. We wouldn't be able to do anything, man. All of these Nikes you brothers wearing, all of these different clothing and hairstyle, you wouldn't be able to do none of that. Your wives would not be able to wear the plaits in their head or dreads or makeup or anything. All right. If you just say we're not supposed to do it because the heathen do it, you wouldn't be able to do anything. All right. 3 examples of common customs, right? Let's look at some common customs that was shared between Israel, Yasharallah, and other nations. All right, building on the point that we made a minute ago about the Most High prohibiting certain customs in His law, but not not everything that the heathen did. So we're gonna look at 3 examples. Let's look at 3 examples of common customs, of which one was commanded by the Most High in the law to keep, and 2 are written of in the scriptures but not condemned. All right, gold jewelry, chains and earrings, purple Phoenician Tyre dye or Tyrian purple, and fringes. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and listen to Yashawamba talk about rings and chains. But I want you to, if you watch this video, I want you to be mindful of this. In the beginning of the video, he says that we're supposed to be separate. Well, throughout the video, he says that we're supposed to be separate from the heathens and we're not supposed to keep them their customs. That's why we're not supposed to shave. It distinguishes us. It makes us separate from them, right? But he's about to contradict himself with this point right here. So let's just go in and listen.
Okay. Pharaoh also gave him a ring. Okay. He gave him a chain, which these are all customs that go back to Egypt. Not saying we didn't incorporate rings and gold chains.
According to that logic, you guys, that's why it's not good to use the logic that we're supposed to grow our beard because shaving and liners was a heathen custom, even though it's not contained in the law. Because you basically just broke your argument. You just voided your argument with that statement right there, that we incorporated change, and even though it was a heathen practice. All right, but let's keep going.
Okay, but that goes back to Egypt. Ultimately, putting on a wedding ring and all of these different things, that goes back to these heathen customs. It's not our custom, man. Okay, and that's actually in verse 42. All right, and Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen and put a gold chain about his neck. Okay, so that rings ultimately go.
All right, so that's that. Okay, so chains and rings go back to Egypt, says Yashawamba, but Israel kept these heathen customs. You just contradicted your whole point of not shaving because it's a heathen custom and not of Yasharallah. But we did it and it was not a sin. All right. Genesis 41 and 42 is what he's reading. It says, and Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen and put a gold chain about his neck. Exodus 12 and 35. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. All right, here's the link. I got all the links to these articles. All right, it says ancient Egyptian jewelry, also spelled jewelry, can be traced back in history to 4000 BC. 4,000 years before Yahushua, before Christ. The pre-dynastic period. Even though this early society was divided by social class, jewelry was acquired by all levels of status, even the poorest class. Both men and women were known to wear all types of jewelry, earrings, crowns, brooches, anklets, necklace, bracelets, and rings were common. So I know you brothers not going to give up your necklaces, your bracelets, and your crowns. We wore crowns in Israel. Brooches, which is the little things that go on your collar and stuff like that. And women not going to give up their anklets. All right, it wasn't against the law to wear these things. But let's keep going. Materials ranging from glass to gold and silver were used. The amount and quality of jewelry worn symbolized the wearer's wealth and social status, but it also had an important religious significance. So the stuff was religious as well. But The Most High did not outlaw us wearing jewelry. Okay, he did not make it illegal for us to wear jewelry in his law. Therefore, it's nothing wrong with it. It's not wrong with wearing jewelry. Gold was considered the flesh of the sun god, and therefore a divine color. So it is no surprise that it quickly became the most popular metal used during the time. So gold was, going back to the whole thing of it being the skin of the gods. Also, the blood of the gods was gold. If you watch that movie, King of Egypt or something like that they came out with a little while ago. The type of stone and color was an important factor in the Egyptians' jewelry. The color and type represented a different mythical meaning. Now, I'm going to tell you something. In Israel, when you go into like Lamentations, it said their polishing was of sapphire. They were as rubies. These stones all had some cultural meaning to us. All right. That goes throughout every culture, man. You can't say that these things are heathen customs. All right, heathen, sometimes we shared some customs with heathen. Okay? I know this shit sound crazy and this, that, and that, but we lived in the same area and some thoughts we shared were similar. Such as the blue stone, I can't think of the name of it, but there was a blue stone. It's written of in Lamentations where it says their polishing was of sapphire. It's lupus lazuli. Okay, I think that's how you pronounce it. When you look at that stone, the stone represented beauty amongst Israel because it's written in our scriptures, and it was basically saying that we were beautiful. And then in Egypt, it represented the same thing. It was one of the most prized stones. I saw we did not deal with that stone because they dealt with it in Egypt and they had a certain significance behind it. No, that's not the case. All right, Songs of Solomon, chapter 10, 1 verse 10. Thy cheeks are comely with rows of jewels, thy neck with chains of gold, showing you we wore gold chains. Ezekiel 16:11. And say, thus said the Lord God unto Jerusalem, I deck thee also with ornaments. I put bracelets upon thee. There go the bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain on thy neck. Even the Most High used the symbology of chains and bracelets. So it's not against the law, even though the heathens kept these customs of wearing jewelry for whatever reasons they wore for. All right, we are bound to the law, not distinction from the other nations based off of culture. All right. Ezekiel 20:23. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. That's the only thing that the Most High outlaws when it comes to jewelry, silver, gold, and metals, and stones. All right, as you see, Yasharallah, Israel wore gold necklaces, rings, earrings, gems, which had its cultural connections. Even though jewelry / necklaces can be connected to heathen customs, the only thing prohibited with gold is making of idols and false gods. Going telling you that the Most High cares about idolatry. He care about your fashion, man. Except for the fringes. Now, the next one is fringes. All right. And there's a link right above the picture. Archaeologists and non-traditional scholars, secular biblical scholars, speculate as to the source of the tradition of wearing tzitzit or fringes. According to the I'm gonna just read the highlighted part for sake of time. The custom, however, clearly predates the codes and was not limited to Israel. Images of the custom have been found on several ancient Near East inscriptions in context suggesting that it was practiced. It was practiced by many nations across the Near East. The primary pagan significance of these tassels in ancient times was that it was worn only by those who were considered important or high society. It was the ID of nobility, okay? If you look down, you see the Assyrians. This is the Assyrio-Babylonian priestly costume or garment. You see the fringes all around the garment, okay? Moving on. So now also the color purple. Now you should look this up sometime, man. It's interesting how the color purple came into being and why it's a rare color and why it's associated with kings. All right. All right. So purple and the Phoenicians. Okay. Once again, the link is there. The Phoenician also produced a blue color as well, which is all in the scriptures. Okay. About 800 BC, the Phoenicians lived on the shores of the eastern Mediterranean. These are heathens, by the way. Their major cities were Tyre and Byblos, and they were merchants and sailors. The purple cloth was their greatest luxury. No one else in the world knew the secret of making purple dye. These were the only people that came up with making this purple dye. They sold it. All right. It says, and kings alone could wear the color because the Phoenicians made it so expensive. This was the origin of their name. Phoenix in Greek means scarlet or dark red and was named after the famous dyes. The Phoenicians themselves had no real name, and because their writings are not common, the Greek name has stuck. What did the Phoenicians wear? The Phoenicians wore many things that were purple. That was their color. Their color was purple because they came up with the dye to make this color. Okay. The purple dye they used was made from sea snails, inexpensive. The kings wore a lot of purple items because they wanted to show their high authority. They wore sandals and loose tunics type clothing. The women wore their hair and intricately pinned to their head. Jewelry was also part of the Phoenician fashion. So you see the Phoenicians wearing jewelry and they wearing this purple. Now, how did they say they got the purple? The pagan origin of purple, right? In Phoenician mythology, the discovery of purple was credited to the pet dog of Tyros, the mistress of Tyre's patron god, Melkart. One day while walking along the beach, the couple noticed that after biting on a washed up mollusk, the dog's mouth was stained purple. Tyros asked for a garment made of the same color, and so began the famous dyeing industry. So with this being known, and the brothers telling us we can't do or wear things because the heathens did it, is this purple dye or clothing in the scriptures? The answer is yes. It is even used in the temple, man. 2 Chronicles 2 and 1. And Solomon determined to build an house for the name of Yahweh and a house for his kingdom. And Solomon told out 70,000 men to bear burdens, and 4,000 to hew in the mountain, and 3,600 to oversee them. And Solomon sent to Hiram, the king of Tyre. Why did he send to the king of Tyre? They were known to be builders, and they also were good with this purple. They came up with the method of dyeing things purple, saying, as thou didst deal with David my father, and didst send him cedars to build him an house to dwell therein, even so deal with me. Verse 7. Send me now, therefore, a man cunning to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and in iron, and in purple. Okay, this is the Tyrian purple from Tyre, or from the Phoenicians, pagans. Now, let me not say pagans, but they were pagans, but heathens, other nations, and crimson and blue, which also comes from Tyre or the Phoenicians, and that can skill to grave with the cunning men that are with me in Judah and in Jerusalem, whom David my father did provide. Verse 13, and now I have sent a cunning man endowed, this is the king responding to David, and now I have sent a cunning man endowed with understanding of Hiram's my fathers, the son of a woman of a daughter of Dan, and his father was a man of Tyre, skillful to work in gold. There go again with the gold, and in silver, brass, iron, and stone, and in timber, in purple, and in blue. They go to the Phoenician purple, which was their custom to wear their garments purple. And in fine linen and in crimson, also to give any manner of graving, and to find out every device which shall be put to him, and with cunning with thy cunning men, and with thy cunning men of my Lord David thy father. Exodus 39 and 24. So we see that even Solomon went to the king of Tyre, which was a heathen, and asked him to do part of his heathen custom of dyeing purple and wearing purple, and put it in the temple. All right, but let's even go back further. Exodus chapter 29, verse 24, 39 and 24. And they made upon the hems of the robe pomegranate of blue and purple and scarlet and twined linen. This is the blue from the Phoenicians, man, that they got from the Egyptians. Okay. Exodus 39 and 29. And a girdle of fine twined linen and blue and purple and scarlet of needlework, as the Lord commanded Moses. Esther 8 and 15. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was, whatever. But point here is that he went out from the king in royal apparel of blue, which goes back to the Phoenician, and white, a great crown of gold on his head, which goes back to the heathens, and with a garment of fine linen and purple, which goes back to the Tyrians, all right, or the Phoenicians, which were heathen. All right. So as you can see, it's a very bad argument to say something is unlawful because the heathen did it. It makes the scripture look contradictory. It's better to just stick with the law and the commandments of Yahweh. It's a sure foundation which tells us what we can and can't do based off our covenant with our power, Yahweh, and what he likes and what he wants us to do and what he doesn't want us to do. Okay, so now we're going to the Most High. They said the Most High is above the technicalities of the law, and he could do whatever he wants. All right, to justify their whole thing of. They said this to justify the thing of not shaving for anything is that's a law. It's not a law. It's nowhere in the law. But yeah.
Ezekiel 5 and 1, I read it again. And thou, son of man, take thee a sharp knife, and take thee a barber's razor, and cause it to pass upon thine head, and even upon thy beard. All right, and take thee balances to weigh and divide the hair. Thou shalt burn with fire the third part, and in the midst of the city, when the days of the siege are fulfilled. And what was the siege? The Babylonians, all right, sacking the temple, okay, in which the Edomites helped them. All right, and thou shalt take a third part and smite it with a knife, and a third part and scatter it in the wind, and I will draw out the sword after them. So this is basically, he told Ezekiel to do this as a similitude, in which I said this all throughout the video. There were particular instances, all right, in the law, in a situation as this, and with Joseph in Egypt, which you can't compare that until today. But anyway, and with Egypt, all right, that men shaved. Yes, we're reading it. It's right here. Okay, this is the balance of it. All right, but is this what we are to teach our people it's okay to do? No. This is what the Lord ordered Ezekiel to do. All right, now if you want to do a video, all right, and shave all your hair off, all right, and tell Israel that the so-called white man is coming, be my guest. Okay, do that. If you do it for that reason, then we can't say you wicked. So go ahead and do a video, shave off your head and your beard, all right, and burn it and say the white man's coming, okay? And then you'll be justified, right? but you're not going to do it. Okay? And no, the Lord wasn't giving Ezekiel license to sin. This is what he ordered him to do. All right? In the Most High, the Spirit is over the technicalities too. I'll say that. The Spirit is over the technicalities of the law. All right? And the Lord shows that all throughout the Bible, man.
All right, so he says that the Most High, or the Spirit, I guess he's talking about the Most High when he says the Spirit. The Spirit is above the technicalities of the law. The Most High could do whatever he wants, right? So basically, you're saying that the Most High can tell someone to sin because he is above the technicalities of the law and allow that person to sin and then let it go, which would be giving them permission. So let's look at what is sin. 1 John 3 and 4. Whosoever committed sin transgressed also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. All right, so if Yahweh tells Ezekiel to shave and lets him shave without punishment, and you say shaving is unlawful, then it means the Most High gave Ezekiel license or permission to sin. But Yahweh's word says Yahweh doesn't give license to sin according to Sirach 15 and 20. He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin. Malachi 3 and 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Psalms 89 and 34. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the things that is gone out of my lips. Numbers 23 and 19. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Hath he said, and he shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? So, couple things. He neither hath he given any man license to sin. I'm Yahweh, I change not. I would not break my covenant, nor alter the things that is going out of my lips. God is not a man that he should lie. All right, so basically, you're wrong. That's wrong. The Most High is not going to tell Ezekiel to sin and then give him permission to sin and then not punish him. No, man. All right, so we got that out the way. Being tedious and technical in the law. So let's go listen to them talk about that.
Is that it's not permitted if you're doing it for the dead, which that was a custom that the heathens were doing when they would mourn, for the dead or towards idols. So they're basically creating a gray area around getting a lineup, getting a taper, shaving your beard, shaving your mustache, because technically, if you ain't doing it for the dead, then you're really not going off, because it's only talking about the dead when you read it in its context, in which they did a 43-minute video trying to cover that aspect. And this is what happens when you search your own glory, because that's what I believe is going on with these dudes. They're trying to seek their own glory, man, and we're not in the time to be trying to seek our own glory. This is the time for the truth and the glory of Yahweh Shem Yahushua to be magnified, man. All right, it's not about how deep you can go on a breakdown, but this is what happens, man. Dudes that get over technical and over analytical, trying to teach the law, and it winds up they become crippled by it, man. Technicalities in the law. So let's say, for example, we agree with you and you happen to be right. All right. Let's say we agree with you. So now that that's true, it is concerning mourning for the dead. which is dealing with idolatry. If that's actually okay now, would you say that you're creating a stumbling block? Because the scriptures say to give not the appearance of evil.
All right, so that's that. All right, so he's saying being tedious and technical in the law, which, man, a couple of these cats, that's what they keep saying. Oh, you being tedious and you being technical and scholarly mumbo jumbo. All right. If we're right, how can it give the appearance of evil? Right is right and wrong is wrong. It's all about being in the spirit. When you get caught up in technicalities, tedious, you lose because ultimately you're not in the spirit. That's what he said. Let's see if that statement is right. Okay, let's see if all that is right, what he said. He said it's all about being in the spirit. Which, what spirit are you talking about? Because that's not the spirit of the Most High. But he said it's all about being in the spirit. I guess the spirit of GMS. When you get caught up in technicalities, tedious, you lose because ultimately you're not in the spirit. I guess he's talking about GMS. I don't know what spirit he's talking about. Let's see if that statement, let's see if it's right. Let's see if that's the spirit of the Most High, not being tedious and not being technical, not getting into technicalities. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 14. Number 17. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God and his testimonies and his statutes, which he had commanded thee. It says ye shall diligently, right? Keep the commandments and his testimonies and his statutes, right? Diligent. It's an adjective. It means carry out with care and perseverance. Perseverance. Done or pursued with perseverance, attention, painstaking, all right, painstaking, tedious. All right. So we're supposed to be technical. We're supposed to be tedious. We're supposed to be diligent, searching and understanding this word. That's what we're supposed to do. What is he talking about? All right, so let's move on to the next thing. The appearance of evil. This is the next thing they're saying.
No, it's in the New Testament. Yep. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. All right. We understand that those ways are of darkness, man. We've read it. Okay. 1 Thessalonians 5:22. Okay. It says, abstain from all appearance of evil. Okay. And that is an appearance of evil, man. Okay.
All right. So he says, abstain from appearance of evil and lining up and all that stuff is an appearance of evil. I guess because the heathens, they have customs of shaving and grooming themselves and wearing jewelry and all that stuff like that. Okay. Other thing I heard was that it was effeminate and that it's what did they say? It's carnal, right? They said it was effeminate because you're trying to look good for the ladies. I'm sorry, that's effeminate. It's really carnal when you tell a man that it's against the law to shave when it's not even in the law that it's against the law for him to shave for grooming purposes or to line up or whatever. That's carnal. Because now, like the brother said, he came up and said it was a curse if a man didn't have a beard, if he couldn't grow a beard. Okay? And that the man that James Harden looked like he was wise because he had a beard on his face, like he had a lot on his mind, he was wise and all this stuff like that. That's carnal because you're judging based off of an appearance of someone. That doesn't come from Israel. That's not of the Most High. All right, but let's read this. So, no, the bottom line is having a beard is not the bottom line is having a beard is not a law. It was a custom. held by Israel and many people. Okay, many people in that region. The context of the scripture is shaving for the dead. All right. So it's not an appearance of evil. How can something be an appearance of evil if it's not evil? That don't make no sense. All right, so yeah, we're not even going to that. All right, so it's the appearance of evil according to who? According to GMS or according to Yahweh, the Most High? Who is it according to? Because it's not in the Most High's law that's against the law to shave, to line up, or anything like that. It's against the law to shave for the dead or for idols, pagans, but it's not against the law to line up or to shave, man, for grooming purposes. So who is that the appearance of evil? According to who? It's according to GMS. Going back to the customs that your elders taught you, which it's no problem with having a custom. You just cannot push that as though that's the doctrine of the Most High coming out of the scriptures. That's the doctrine of your elders, and that's fine. All right, you brothers better stop wearing, like I said earlier, brothers, you better stop wearing Nikes, Adidas. You better stop driving Saturns. You better stop going to SunTrust. A lot of this stuff you're doing, if you're gonna use that scripture to say it gives the appearance of evil, so you can't do it, that means you can't do anything in America or in Babylon, because everything here is pagan. Everything gives the appearance of evil. That's why it's best to just stick with what the Most High said to do and to not do, rather than creating all these traditions and trying to claim it to be law, trying to pass it to be law. All right. Sin is moral. Let's sin. All right. It said the appearance of evil. Sin. Definition: morally reprehensible, sinful, or wicked. 1 John 3:4. Once again, sin is transgression of the law. Where is it in the law that commands Israel to grow a beard and to not alter it because it's a heathen custom? There's nowhere in the law. Nobody can produce that for me. They still have yet to produce it. And like I said in the last video, the top 3 elders, Arim Lab, Gabar, and Tahar, have not produced anything on this subject. All right? They're never quiet when someone comes against what they're saying. They always got a lot to say. All of a sudden, they're quiet now. You got to think about that. 1 John 3:4. Sin is transgression of law, right? Well, let's go to 2 Corinthians 2:1. All right, since they're talking about the appearance of evil. See what Paul says. We then, as workers together with him, beseech you also that ye receive not the grace of God in vain. Verse 2. For he said, I have heard thee in a time accepted, and in the day of salvation I have succored thee. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed, but in all things approving ourselves as the ministers of God, in much patience, in afflictions, and necessities, and distresses, and stripes, and imprisonments, and tumults, and labors, and watchings, and fasting, by pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unfeigned, by the word of truth, by the power of God, by the armor of righteousness, on the right hand and on the left, by honor and dishonor. Now, dishonor is the appearance of evil. It says by evil report and by good report, as deliverers and yet true. So what do you mean the appearance of evil? Because Paul here is saying by honor, dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true. Some things may look like they're evil. Okay, some things you may think they're bad. It's like two-thirds of our people, or the people out there that see us, may think that we're bad and we're not doing right and we're going wrong. but we're actually not. We're good. We're doing right. We're trying to follow the laws. We're trying to teach them right. All right? So even though it may appear that the Bible, to some people, the Bible appears to be evil. They use that on us in slavery. They use a certain Bible in slavery on us. They use certain things out of the Bible, so it may appear evil to certain people. Does that make the Bible evil? It does not. All right? When you read in the book of Sirach, it says everything is two. All right? That one may establish the good of another. All right? Things can be, in Sirach again, it says to some things, some, all things are evil, all things are good. It just depends on how it's being used and what it really is. Okay, so that's a void argument, man. Moving on. Okay, so we're going to bring out a couple of these scriptures right here because these scriptures were brought out in Yashawamba's video. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 12 verse 3. For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of the Holy Land, whom thou hatest for doing the most odious works of witchcraft. What kind of works? Of witchcraft and wicked sacrifices. The Egyptians used to sacrifice their hair at funerals, okay? And also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of men's flesh in the feast of blood. See, now you notice why in the scriptures it's saying like, yo, we're not supposed to drink blood. We're not supposed to sacrifice our children to Molech. We're not supposed to commit adultery. Our daughters and our sons are not supposed to be temple prostitutes. Okay? That's idolatry. Verse 6. With their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew, and their parents that killed with their own hands souls destitute of help. The epistle of Jeremiah 6 and 9. Menstruous women, this is another one of our laws about women being apart. But menstruous women and women in childbed eat their sacrifice. Why was it women in childbed eating the sacrifice and menstruous women? Because their gods a lot of times were women, because they worshiped fertility. That's why they wanted the crops to grow. They would get a pregnant woman. They would eat the sacrifice, because the sacrifice is supposed to be eaten by the priest. It says, by these things you may know that they are no gods, fear them not. For how can they be called gods? Because women set meat before the gods in silver and gold and wood, of silver and gold and wood. And the priests sit in their temples having their clothes rent, and their heads and their beards shaven, and nothing upon their heads. They roar and cry before their gods as men do at the feast when one is dead. Now, I want you to notice some things, right? In the scripture, Wisdom of Solomon, which is talking about idolatry, right? We have the word witchcraft, wicked sacrifices, blood feast, murdering of children, devourers of men's flesh, idolatry, and children sacrifice. We have, in Jeremiah, we have heads being shaven for these gods, and being shaven and crying as though they at the feast of one that is dead. Now, where else do we see these things that's being mentioned in Wisdom of Solomon and the Epistle of Jeremiah? Well, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14, verse 27. For the wisdom of idols not to be named is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. It's the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. Deuteronomy 18 and 9. When thou art, Deuteronomy 18 and 9. We're going to show you where you see all of this stuff at. When thou art coming to the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you any one that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. 11. or a charmer, or a consultant with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. Verse 12, for all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, which is specified, the Lord thy God doeth drive them out from before thee. So you see witchcraft, enchanters, consultants of familiar spirits, and you see them doing abominations. What else do we see these things? Among shaving for the dead. You see it among the shaving for the dead law. Leviticus 19:26-31. Ye shall not eat anything with the blood. What were they doing? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, verse 3. Whom thou hatest for doing the most odious works of witchcraft in the feast of blood. It was drinking blood. Leviticus 19:26-31. Ye shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall you use enchantment. It tells you they were using enchantment. Nor observe times. It tells you they were observing times. Ye shall not round the corners of your head, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead. It tells you they were shaving their heads, crying for the dead and for their idols, which their idols actually were dead because they were actual people that died at one time. Nor print any marks upon you. We go back to when we did the sit down on funerary customs of Egypt. They would tattoo the names of their goddesses in their shoulder. To make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. Do not prostitute thy daughters, to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom, and the land become full of wickedness. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards. Neither seek after wizards to be defiled in them. All this goes back to idolatry. It's written of in other places in the scriptures. None of this is just based off of you look a certain way. All right? The Most High specifies what he wants us to do and what he doesn't want us to do. All right? And lining up and shaving for grooming purposes or whatever, it's not in there. Even if you're doing it for the ladies, it's not against the law. You do it for whatever reason you want to. You just better not be doing it for no other idols, no other gods, or for the dead. Okay? All right, so that's we went through and we kind of knocked down a lot of these points that these brothers were taking, these points of contention. And we went through and disproved all of those. Like I said, apologize for taking so long, but it takes a lot to go through all of these videos and listen to these and write something that's coherent. We don't release over here. We rather release something that's quality, all right, rather than quantity. All right. We try to be accurate in what we're saying, and so we try to be as accurate as possible. Okay, we don't take this thing lightly of dealing with the word of the Most High. All right, so first thing I'm gonna say is call Allah Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Hopefully this video was edifying to you brothers out there and you sisters watching, and hopefully we can bring this to an end sometime soon. Because we have other lessons and other things that we're doing, all right, and working on. So, Shalom, Akim.